So the holidays, not just Christmas, but Thanksgiving through New Year is a fun time for a lot of people. It's also a difficult time for folks. People that have lost people recently or even a while back, this brings up a lot of memories for them. We as a church want to reach out into the community as well as reach in and help with some of that grief. We have a program that's starting here in January that we want to invite you to. And if it doesn't apply to you, it certainly does in your circle of influence, at work, at whatever group you're a part of in your neighborhood. Please just watch this 2-minute video, and I'll come back to you in just a sec.
The Grief Share video seminars, workbook exercises, and small group discussions give participants encouragement, useful advice, and hope.
The videos, they're very believable. It just seemed like regular people speaking from the heart. They helped me focus my thoughts.
Having many different people on the videos from week to week makes a huge difference.
The video strengthened me.
The way I grew up, people had a funeral, they went to somebody's house, ate a lot of food, and you never talked about it after that. And to be able to sit in a small group and hear people actually express what I was thinking and feeling was quite refreshing.
I needed to be in a situation where I could talk freely about my feelings and my grief and not feel like that I was causing other people to be uncomfortable.
My workbook helped me to unravel the feelings that I was going through.
I found that the workbook was so helpful in that while the video I was watching it, I could make notes.
And it helps me go back and remember how God can help me.
If you know people in your church or community who are grieving the death of a loved one, tell them about Grief Share. Or visit a Grief Share group yourself to heal from the pain of your grief. And remember, no matter how long ago you lost your loved one, you are always welcome at Grief Share.
There was such a void until I got into Grief Share.
Grief Share has been a big help and encouragement to me.
Grief Share brought me out of my sadness.
Begin your journey from mourning to joy at Grief Share.
You'll be hearing more about that in the weeks to come. The program itself starts in January 23rd. It'll be on Tuesday nights here at the church. But like I say, you'll be hearing more about that. Hey, if anyone is on a committee, and there are lots of us that are on committees, you probably got an email this week from the chairman of the church council. And if you did not, if you don't have email or you haven't looked at it and you want a physical copy of that letter, they'll be out in the Welcome Center for you to take. I just wanted you to know that they'd be there. All right. I think I took care of all the business stuff that I have for the morning. Let me just double check. Yep. Got it all. Now we're going to get down to brass tacks. So here's the brass tacks. Last week, if you were here, you had an opportunity to worship with our choir. Our choir worshiped in a way that King David worshiped, which is in song. And one verse that I chose to share talked about our righteousness and how we have absolutely none. But God imputed to us His righteousness, so we're seen as morally perfect by God. Imputed means He gave us, without cost, His righteousness, and then He took all of our guilt and shame. I've traded my sorrows, I've traded my guilt and my shame, my sickness and pain for the joy of the Lord. That was the last song that was sung here. And that is something that is available through Jesus Christ to any person who desires to know Him. More about that later. Just this week, we got to hear our children proclaim Christ. In their exuberant joy, some of us are reminded of our less than exuberant joy around this time of the year. It's kind of a shot in the arm, isn't it, to see these kids doing something like this? It is for me, I know. I pray all the time that I would have the kind of exuberance I had when I was a kid. You remember that night before Christmas, when all through the house, that cute little mouse was not even stirring? Yes. Yeah, and the expectation there. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about this. One of the questions that often comes up is, how do we know this whole Jesus thing is true? How do we know it's not just like a dream like this thing was? How do we know it's real? How do we know that we can rely on the Bible? Well, how do you know that you can rely on anything at all? How about those products we're buying for people for Christmas this year, right now? How do you know if they are what they say that they are? A good way is to get something and it does what it says right now. A better way is to get something that says, not only is this going to do this now, but it's going to continue into the future. And then actually see that it does. Right? That promise is there, and then you see the promise start to pay off. That second one, where there's a promise of future performance, is called prophecy. The Bible, like things from Walmart, can be judged by what they predict, what they claim, and what actually happens. Now, I am not, for anybody who's going to send me now a note, how dare you put the Bible and Walmart in the same sentence? Go with me for a minute. Just go with me for a minute. How do you know something is trustworthy? Well, in Isaiah 53, just one chapter of Isaiah, there are 13 prophetic statements alone. They all center on Jesus and his Passion Week and what its purpose was. In Micah 5, there's one prophetic statement. Just one. And I want to read it to you because that's all we're going to focus on. It's all we've got time for this morning. And here it is, in Micah 5. It says, "But as for you, Bethlehem Ephratah, too little to be among the clans of Judah, from you one will go forth, for me to be ruler in Israel. His goings forth are from long ago, from the days of eternity." Who do you think that's talking about? Go ahead, this is class participation time. Who are we talking about? Jesus Christ. We're talking about the baby in the manger. Yes, there's one in there. Yeah, we're talking about Jesus Christ. Bethlehem, Ephratah. Bethlehem, in and of itself, means house of bread. Bread. What do we know about bread? The bread of life, something that's nourishing for us. And Ephratah means fruitful. If you eat of this bread, fruit will come. You will become fruitful. You may not know this about Bethlehem, but King David was born there as well. And his direct descendant, Jesus, was born in Bethlehem. Here we are in Micah 5, 700 years before Christ is born. And Micah says, this is the town he's going to be born in. You know, if you think about that one prophecy, you say, well, that's pretty decent. But did you know in the Old Testament that there are 414 prophecies about Jesus alone? And then in the New Testament, there are even more about his second coming. I'm going to read something to you, an author by the name of Peter Stoner from Science Speaks applies the modern science of probability to just 8 prophecies regarding Christ. 8. Not even 13, certainly not 414. I want you to grasp what it is we're talking about here. The chance that any man might have fulfilled all 8 prophecies is 1 in 10 to the 17th power. That would be 1 in 100 quadrillion. That he would just fulfill 8 prophecies. Stoner suggests that you take that number and you cover the state of Texas in silver dollars. That's how much we're talking about. And not just flat, they'd be 2 feet deep. The whole state of Texas would be 2 feet deep. And here's what he says. He says, take one of those and mark it. Put some kind of a color somewhere on it. And put it among that 100 quadrillion. And then tell a man, you're allowed to go as far as you want and search wherever you like, but you've got to come back with that one. 1 in 100 quadrillion for just 8 of those. Brothers and sisters, what these children talked about and sang about, they did through a story which was about this dreamland. There's nothing dreamy about this. This is true. Jesus Christ is here. Jesus Christ is for you. He came in form of a helpless babe, lived a perfect life, and died for you. Take heart in knowing that Jesus came for you. And He came for you. He came for you. All right, He even came for you. I can point to every person here that Jesus Christ is more than real. Jesus Christ is alive in the person of the Holy Spirit for those of us that have accepted His free gift. Can't earn it. Can't be good enough to get it. We've just accepted it. It's free. The math is there. The math is there that everything is real in this. People say to me, well, I don't believe in Jesus Christ. I don't believe in the Bible. I say, okay, well, where do you want to start? Let's start just with the Jesus question. Once you start talking about the math alone, there's no denying it. So my only question to you is your faith there? The math is there. Is your faith there? Is it in that cross? Is that what your faith is in? Because if it's not, we want you to come up here and we want you to pray with us.